Hey guys, it's Jen. So you
Whoa. Whoa. What happened here? What happened here? Hold on, folks. Hold on, folks. For some reason, my screen has gone away. Isn't that great when you start a live stream? Let's see. Test. There's the black screen. No, we don't want that. Test. Ugh, God, why? Why? Hold on. Working to come back for you. Mm-hmm. Damn it. Hey. I do not know what just happened to my screen. So, while I try to figure it out, here's Jen with a report on who was behind. Who was behind those the Russian report yesterday? Who was behind that Russian report yesterday that said Bernie Sanders voters and black voters had their brains brainwashed? Here we go.
Hey guys, it's Jen. So you've all heard by now about the report that came out showing again, that they had a report out either earlier this year or last year, I can't remember. But now there's a new report saying that Russia took over the election, destroyed Hillary by sending out these memes on the internet, on Facebook and Google. Obviously, that's not good. I think they did do that. I think they do that, have done that since the dawn of the internet, and especially since the dawn of social media. And I think we probably do the same thing in their country too. The point is, it is bad. The other point is, as far as we know, the Russians spent $100,000 on Facebook ads and $4,700 on Google ads. That's what's been reported. So, and then they've also released the memes that have been shown, and there are very weird memes, some of them. A lot of them have absolutely nothing to do with Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, and a lot of the ads were taken out after the campaign ended. But the truth doesn't seem to matter to these guys. So, what they did, let me pull up my info here. So there was a report commissioned by the Senate committee, and they just released the details of this report. And that's what everyone's been talking about for the past few days. And the company that they hired to do this is a relatively new company called New Knowledge Cybersecurity. So let me read you a little bit. The bombshell report was in the New York Times, so I'll read you a snippet of that relates to New Knowledge Cybersecurity, so you can learn a bit about who these guys are and what they've released to the Senate and now to the public. And then I'll go into some details about who they really are. So let's talk about this report from the New York Times. The report adds new details to the portrait that has emerged over the last 2 years of the energy and imagination of the Russian effort to sway American opinion and divide the country, which the authors said continues to this day, the authors of the report. Active and ongoing interference operations remain on several platforms, says the report, produced by New Knowledge, a cybersecurity company based in Austin, Texas, along with researchers at Columbia University and Canfield Research LLC. One continuing Russian campaign, for instance, seeks to influence opinion on Syria by promoting Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian president, and a Russian ally in the brutal conflict there. The New Knowledge report is one of two commissioned by the Senate committee on a bipartisan basis. They are based largely on data about the Russian operations provided to the Senate by Facebook, Twitter, and the other companies whose platforms were used. So that's what's been reported. That's what's in the New York Times. So let's talk about what New Knowledge does. Again, they were formed in 2015. They say their tech analyzes conversations across multiple platforms on social media and otherwise, looking for signs that it's being tampered with, identifies who's doing the tampering and what kind of messaging they're sending out. So they actually said, and this is from a TechCrunch article where they were gave information about their company. They said, whereas Facebook is thinking about billions of users, we're focused on tens of thousands of users. So I thought that was interesting. And they say it's still a meaningful number. Who knows? And what further distinguishes New Knowledge is that its founders are AI and Homeland Security experts who grew up in the NSA. So let's get into more details. The founder of New Knowledge, the founder and CEO, is named Jonathan Morgan. And he also runs Data for Democracy, which I haven't dug into as much, but I believe it's an open source platform and that they are targeting the right. And from what I've read, it might be the alt-right. So these people are definitely left-leaning and not fans of Donald Trump in any case. They certainly don't seem to not have a bias. They definitely do seem biased. Obviously, their data shouldn't be biased, but who knows if it is. And you can make up your own mind. I'm not going to tell you that they are definitely biased or that they're definitely interpreting data a certain way or that they don't have enough of a sample size or whatever, because I don't know that. I suspect that, but you can make your own choice. So Jonathan, Mr. Morgan, served as an advisor to the White House and State Department, and he co-authored the ISIS Twitter census for the Brookings Institution. And I talked a little bit about the Brookings Institution in another video that I did on the Center for American Progress. And depending on who you ask, they're either center, liberal. Now people seem to think they're more liberal. But they definitely, as all these think tanks are, they definitely have a bias. And he's also developed new technology with DARPA. So DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, which is an agency of the United States Department of Defense, responsible for the development of emerging technologies for use by the military. So that's his background: State Department, DARPA, and he's presented at NATO Center of Excellence for Defense Against Terrorism, the United States Institute for Peace, and the African Union. And when he was at the State Department, his role was developing counterterrorism strategies and understanding what public discourse looks at online. So this is definitely in the vein of what he's been doing. Why this relatively new company was hired for such an important role probably does have something to do with his connections, that he worked at the State Department, that he had his hands in different government projects and things like that. He's, even though this company's new, these people aren't new to this world. And there are some Clinton connections, of course, which I'll get to. And the COO, co-founder, is Ryan Fox. Now, Ryan spent 15 years at the NSA and helped develop next-generation Signet solutions and to support national security interests. Prior to his civilian roles as a counterterrorism fellow and NSA representative European Signet charters, he served on the U.S. Joint Special Operation Command as a CNO analyst for the U.S. Army. And I apologize if I'm talking fast. I'm trying to get this to Jordan in time so he can do it on his live stream today. So Signet, if you're not familiar, is intelligence derived from electronic signals and systems used by foreign targets. Provides information about foreign adversaries and all that. So that fits right in with what these guys are doing, what their area of expertise is and where their influence comes in, their connections, things like that. Might give us some insight as to why they were hired by the Senate. The director of research for New Knowledge is Renee DeResta, and she has a decade of experience in technological marketing and business capacities. She's also been an advisor to the State Department, Congress, and other state and federal government institutions. And so her main role was concerned with the spread of disinformation and propaganda. It was kind of interesting as I was looking for potential other connections other than her being an advisor to the State Department and Congress. She's actually working for a company called Presidential Leadership Scholars. And this is from her LinkedIn page. She's been there for 2 years. So the Presidential Leadership Scholars Program is a partnership among the presidential centers of George W. Bush, William J. Clinton, good old Bill, George H.W. Bush, and Lyndon B. Johnson. So this is designed, it says, for mid-career leaders from diverse backgrounds who share a commitment to helping solve society's greatest challenges. So that's interesting. I mean, obviously that seems bipartisan. George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Lyndon Johnson. But in the end, these people, there aren't two sides. There's not Democrats or Republicans. There's one side. Bill Clinton is a Republican, essentially. So it's interesting that she has that connection as well. So these aren't new people who started this company because they were so passionate about Russian disinformation campaigns. These are people who were already deeply embedded with the government, who formed this new firm in 2015 and have now been given the task of telling us that our democracy has been taken over by Russia based on internet memes, and end of story. That Donald Trump stole the election, Russia stole it for him, and that Hillary Clinton was cheated because they're tweeting out memes of Jesus and masturbation. And I'm not kidding on that one. We can share that tweet with you. Chris Hayes actually tweeted it, which was just quite funny. I don't think they're stealing elections with Jesus masturbation memes. So let's talk a little bit about their funding. They've gotten $1.9 million in seed funding from Moonshot Capital, with participation from Haystack, GGV Capital, Geekdom Fund, Capital Factory, and Spitfire Ventures. They've also received $11 million in a Series A funding round led by GGV Capital, with participation from Lux Capital. And I'll get into Lux more because that's another very interesting piece that I want to do more research on. So Lux Capital is, as I said, one of the venture partners, or was part of the venture round. And actually, former CIA Director James Woolsey, who worked under Bill Clinton, or, he was the CIA Director in the Bill Clinton era. So he joined Lux Capital in 2011 as a venture partner. And he's also a key figure in the Mueller probe. Woolsey has also, interestingly enough, served on the board of Flynn's lobbying firm, Flynn Intel Group. And so the story behind this apparently is that Woolsey, as part of the Mueller probe stuff, he walked into a meeting with Flynn and he was very uncomfortable. Yeah, here it is. Federal investigators working for special counsel Robert Mueller have interviewed former CIA Director James Woolsey about allegations that Mike Flynn discussed potentially illegal removal of a Turkish clerk from the U.S. So he kind of sounded the alarm and said, this doesn't sound right. He was also a volunteer advisor to Donald Trump's campaign. So he has a relationship with the Clintons, obviously. He's also had his hand in the Trump presidency and pre-Trump presidency. But it seems like whatever happened with Flynn kind of turned him away from that. So he's talked to Mueller and his team, and he's also part of this Lux Capital, which gave a lot of money. He's a venture partner, so that's part of his money. He gave a lot of money to this new knowledge cybersecurity firm to conduct this report. So I find those connections very interesting. It's not a small thing that he was Bill Clinton's head of the CIA. So I don't have any answers other than this all seems weird. It's, again, weird that it's a new firm. It's weird that they have all these connections with the State Department and with the NSA and the White House and DARPA and NATO and everything like that. So I don't know. Maybe you can look into it too. I'm going to keep digging and see what's really going on with this Russian meme takeover, and if this cybersecurity firm is legit or if they may have ulterior motives. Bye-bye.
Can you hear me now? 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 Can you hear me? 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 Tell me. Tell me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, good. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting because just as I $5, thank you in the super chat. It's very interesting. We experience a lot of suppression here at Status Quo. People don't see our videos. People don't get notifications. People get unsubscribed when they didn't unsubscribe themselves. So I click to go live, and all of a sudden my screen just disappeared. I was going to play that great video from Jen like a little bit into the hour, but I had to play it right off the top because my screen disappeared. Isn't that interesting that all of a sudden my screen disappeared? Interesting. Maybe Russia did it. But great report by Jen. It's really hard for me to focus when Jen does these videos. She's such a good researcher. And she does such great reporting. And she's talking about, corrupt people. But how do you focus on Jen when that Bernie bear is right there? She's got that Bernie bear right next to her. I just can't focus on the report because she's got the Bernie bear right next to her. But I was trying to figure out how to get my screen back so I didn't see all of Jen's report. But don't you think it would be kind of important? Don't you think it would be kind of important when the corporate media breathlessly regurgitates a Senate intelligence report that claims, Russians brainwash Bernie Sanders voters and African American voters to not vote for Hillary Clinton? Don't you think it might be important to mention that the author of the reports were our former NSA and State Department and Defense Department workers? Don't you think it might be worth mentioning that former Bill Clinton CIA director James Woolsey, like Jen just reported, is linked to this report? Just saying it's worth mentioning. I'm not saying they made up their report, but it's important to understand the motivations behind the people who are authoring certain reports. It's important to know who are the people that are authoring these reports that are then being regurgitated by the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC. What are their ties? Who are they connected to? And thank you if I missed you. Oh, Squirrel Lips got us started. Squirrel Lips always getting us started with the $1.99 in the super chat. This is a super chat. So, Jen, just doing very, very quick research, finds more than the corporate media, who has way more resources than any of us. Why? Because she looked. In general, you can't really find what you're not looking for, right? But, I generally don't do the same topic 2 days in a row. But in this case, I'm going to do the same topic 2 days in a row. Because honestly, I think the brainwashing and the propaganda and this new McCarthyite that we're seeing, this is McCarthyism in the digital age. This is like the Twitter version of McCarthyism. And by the way, great report to Jen. You're going to see more of Jen and the Bernie Bear more often here on Status Quo. Status Quo. Status Coup. You're going to hear more of Jen and the Bernie Bear on Status Quo. We're going to try to get her in more. So, since my report yesterday, basically debunking a lot of this nonsense. Oh, I didn't even get to the checklist. I forgot my checklist. Remember, folks, you have a checklist. YouTube is suppressing us, so the more you like this live stream, the more people will see it. Press that like button. 90 people are watching, but I only see 34 likes. What are you doing? I don't even care if you dislike me. You could dislike me, but like the live stream. Press that like button. Go to statuscoup.com, where you could become a member. Go to statuscoup.com, click on Become a Member. You'll see our options. We have great options for you as low as $5 a month. You could become a status slayer at $5 a month. You could become a coup de champion at $10 a month. And Jen and I are going to be adding a higher level in the coming days. So right there, go to statuscoup.com. We hope you could factor us into your budget. Real independent media will only grow. Real independent media will only grow as far as you take us. Of course, we have other ways and other plans to make money that don't involve taking money from evil plutocrats that fund Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and the rest of them. We're not looking for money from plutocrats, but we are looking to grow our business with money and support from you, the viewer. I believe we have 51 paid members now, and we just launched this 2-3 weeks ago. So we got 51 paid members. Our goal for the end of 2018 is to hit 100. So obviously people have, holiday shopping to do. A lot of people live paycheck to paycheck. If you can't sign on for $5 or $10 a month, we understand, but you can share these videos. You can spread the status coup cheer word of mouth. That's for sure. And as a reminder, we're trying to hit that GoFundMe goal. Our overall goal is 50,000, but we're trying to get to 30,000 by the end of the year. Made a lot on Sunday during our marathon. So we hope you could help spread the holiday cheer. And by the way, I don't want to excite you. Because it could fall through. But I think we're going to have a pretty big guest on the Sunday marathon this Sunday. I think we're going to have a pretty big guest that you all like. So stay tuned for that announcement when it's a done deal. Stay tuned. So, for the last 2 days, all I hear is that, Russia, hacked people's brains, that Bernie Sanders supporters a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters did vote for Hillary Clinton at the end. A lot of Bernie Sanders supporters, sucked it up and voted for Hillary Clinton. But there's a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters that said, hell no, I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton. And now all of a sudden, you got this Senate intelligence report that Jen so wonderfully just reported on, that's showing that basically they're trying to make it seem like Bernie Sanders supporter and African American supporters that, frankly, is kind of racist. They're suggesting that black people kind of got fooled and that Bernie Sanders supporters got tricked into not voting for Hillary Clinton. So I decided, you know what? I'm not exactly like Gallup, but I'm going to do a poll. This is not a scientific poll. This is a Twitter poll. But I'm going to do a poll. So I did this, little old me. I did this Twitter poll a couple hours ago. And I said, for Bernie supporters or African Americans who didn't vote for Hillary Clinton in the general election, did you not vote for her because the DNC rigged the 2016 primary, her record, picking Tim Kaine as vice president, or the anti-Hillary social media memes put out there by Russia? Now, this is not a scientific poll, but, almost 1,500 people have voted, and we got 20 hours left, so I'm sure we'll get more votes. I thought those were, some fairly good options that people could leave for why they didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, for those that didn't vote for her in the general election. I could have added more options. I could have wanted to help get the Green Party up to 5%, which would trigger more funding. Hillary Clinton's a warmonger, but I thought that went into her record. I didn't want to have a gazillion options. But, color me surprised, the whole Hillary Clinton seeing, Jesus and Hillary Clinton going after Jesus memes, and Hillary, what was it? Hillary Clinton as the Antichrist. Color me surprised that that was pretty low on the totem pole. I mean, we will say it's at 3%, so it's not in last place. Picking Tim Kaine was in last place. And Jen, do you mind putting this tweet, a link for it, in the super chat, so people, if they want to vote, I really want to get some data here. I want to see as scientifically as I can. Obviously, it's Twitter, so it's not a scientific poll, but I'd like to get as many people as possible. And I thought that the responses to this poll were just so enlightening. So here you have Cornelio. The devil arm wrestling Jesus meme convinced me not to vote for Hillary. It was super persuasive. Oh, God, I'm trying to keep a straight face. How about didn't find anything particularly inspirational in her message that motivated them to go vote for her? It's a good one. And by the way, I can't guarantee you that Russia hasn't hacked these people's accounts and tweeted for them. I can't guarantee that at this point. I'm investigating. How about Dem Cowboys said, I've researched the Clinton family for years. Their history of policies and the resulting destruction caused in the AA community is appalling. The African American community. I don't know how to say that, but this is the one right here. How you would vote for her after seeing this. Like if you want Jesus to win. These people are obviously being super sarcastic. John R. Spain. There was the Dem National Convention where they threw out all the progressive interns and volunteers who paid their own way there and took their credentials, locking them outside. They blocked Sanders signs and let us know they didn't want our votes. I remember. I was there. I saw what they were doing. A lot of people said both A and B. Todd Apel says her long record and the fact that they didn't compete fairly on the issues and instead cheated and paid for trolls, astroturf, social media attacks, manufactured narratives, and lied every time they said something. They campaigned to center right, complete dishonesty. Mo is woe. As a first-time black voter, it was mainly her record and the rigging of the DNC, which I felt a big I told you all. When it was revealed she literally bought their debt to win an election that she then lost to a reality star, New York Dem, hooked on white idol and populism. Her record and Tim Kaine as the vice president. That the universal health care will never come to pass in America bit did it for me. Me too. I was there when she said that in that small gymnasium. Retta says all of the above. Omar, none of the above. I live in New York City. She was going to win the state regardless of my vote, so I voted third party to support in my state. I did the same thing when Obama ran his second term. No Russians then. I mean, I could go on. You should really go check it out. I mean, there's so many comments. I didn't even know this poll would get so many responses. I'm going to do more polls. But I think that's instructive. Yes, please like the video. The more people that like, the more people that watch. The more people that like, for whatever reason, on YouTube, the more people who like the live stream, the more people who see it. Unfortunately, YouTube has been suppressing this channel a lot. So it's up to you guys to help us get the views up. Rashid says, I see 116 views and only 21 likes. Is YouTube removing likes? They're removing subscribers, so who knows if they're removing likes at this point. So, I find that so instructive because, I'm not going to lie to you. I do enjoy fighting people on Twitter. Maybe as I get older, I'll like it less. But I kind of like fighting people on Twitter. And, it's kind of insulting to me because I was on the campaign trail. I interviewed hundreds of Bernie Sanders supporters in 2016. Honestly, maybe even over 1,000 when you combine with the Democratic National Convention where I interviewed hundreds of them just there. So I think I have some concept of what drove Bernie Sanders supporters. I can't speak for all of them, and obviously I can't speak for African Americans, but there were black Bernie voters. I saw them at rallies, I saw them at the convention, I saw them at debates. So I can tell you that I literally never heard from one of them. Well, I saw this and I saw this post about Hillary Clinton on Facebook, so I don't like her. And what they're trying to do is basically throw your voices away. They're trying to throw the supporters, not just of Bernie Sanders, but progressives away. They're trying to make it seem like the only reason that people would support a candidate that's for Medicare for all, that's for major aggressive action on climate change, that's for breaking up the big banks, that's for free public college, that's for ending the wars, that's for ending fracking, that's for taxing the rich, that's for a $15 minimum wage, a progressive candidate. They're trying to make it seem like the only reason that people who want that wouldn't vote for a warmongering gold, the hell was that conservative's name? Why am I blanking? She was a something girl. Who was the Republican that got wiped out in the 1960s? Why am I blacking out? Jen, can you help me? Goldwater girl. A warmongering Goldwater girl who was for NAFTA, who called black people super predators, who was pro TPP and then pretended she wasn't, that literally tried to convince Obama to go to war with Syria when she was Secretary of State, that pushed us into the Iraq War. They're trying to make it seem like the people who supported that guy chose not to vote for that woman because Russians posted weird memes of Hillary Clinton with Jesus on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Do you guys realize how ridiculous this is? I don't even want to be talking about this. It's so ridiculous. But I feel I don't have a choice. I feel I don't have a choice. I think somebody needs to build a wall. I think somebody needs to build a wall to get these neoliberals out of the country. How about that? I mean, oh my God, I showed you this yesterday, but I got to show it to you again. Neera Tanden, in response to this story, that Bernie bros and black people were brainwashed by Russian trolls. I could tweet this 1,000 times. Oh, God. By the way, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Neera is a person of color. I don't know if she's black, I don't know if she's Latino, but I believe she's a person of color. So she's basically supporting a theory that Bernie voters or black voters were swayed by Russian posts on the internet from Russia, because there was never memes critical of Bernie Sanders that correct the record. A paid troll army and Hillary Clinton super PAC. There was never memes by them critical of Bernie Sanders, right? Please enlighten me in the super chat. I want to hear from one person. In all seriousness, I'm not kidding. I want to hear from one person. One person tell me that they chose not to vote for Hillary Clinton in the November general election because of something they saw on social media. I'm not going to attack you. I really would just like to hear from one person, because I keep getting in fights on Twitter with these same people who are calling me a Russian Asian, asking, do you have any data to back this up? Do you have any evidence other than your vague opinion? Do you have any exit polls that show social media posts swayed a majority of people? Hank, I did. That's cool. Hank, can you tell me, was there what you saw? Could you tell me, Hank, what you saw on social media that swayed you to not vote for Hillary Clinton? Again, I'm not attacking you. I'm just trying to understand. But I guess I didn't know it. They just tell me I was. Well, that, hey, Hank, that is what we call brainwashing. And I'm pretty sure, Hank Moultrie, I don't think you were brainwashed. I think there was something deep, deep inside of you that said, I don't want to vote for this person. And by the way, I don't tell people who to vote for. I tell you the facts, but people can vote for whoever they vote for. I'm not going to slam people who voted for Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. I don't think it's like as black and white. Like I didn't, but I could understand Oh, Hank. You know, Hank, I'm asking for a serious answer here, and you're joking with me here. Darth Corey, they're trying to gaslight us. Johnny Nice, vote for Pedro. Was Pedro on the ballot? I mean, honestly, what's coming next, folks, what's coming next, and I want whoever knows how to technologically do this, well, you could just save this video. I'm telling you right now, folks, if Bernie Sanders runs again, or Bernie Sanders gets the Democratic nomination, if he runs as a Democrat, which I think he will, you watch them try to throw out some scandalous thing about, well, Bernie Sanders met with some people in Russia when him and Jane honeymooned there. Because, you know, him and Jane honeymooned in Russia. Not where I would honeymoon, but that's where they honeymoon. I guarantee you that's coming next. Well, who did Bernie Sanders talk to in Russia during his honeymoon? Who did he meet with? Why was he there? Why did he choose Russia? I have people on Twitter explaining to me what psychops is, and that people can be swayed through these operations. And I say to those people, oh, I guess that I was just like in a different country when I traveled around the country and interviewed hundreds of people at Bernie rallies, debates, and conventions, who all told me the same thing. She's a Republican. She's a warmonger. She's a liar. She's a fraud. She's not for me. She's going to send us into another war. She's going to keep tax cuts for the rich. She's going to keep fracking. She's not going to do anything on climate change. She's going to make climate change worse. And she's phony. And I don't trust her. These are all things I routinely was told. You saw it when I was at the Young Turks. I interviewed all these people. So this doesn't, by the way, I've said this over and over again. Kimberly says, just checked on my notifications on YouTube and my preferences had been changed to occasionally notify. No wonder I wasn't getting any notice. Kimberly, thank you so much. You're a wonderful case study about how YouTube is a criminal, deviant enterprise. And I'll probably get more suppressed for saying that. That's why, just put it in your calendar. I'm live every single day, 5 p.m. Just put it in your calendar, because God knows if they're going to notify anyone. Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Put it in your calendar. So you remember, 5 p.m. Eastern. Rain, shine, I'm live. Sunday, noon Eastern. Put it in your calendar. Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Sunday, noon. And you see, folks, when you do like the live stream, the viewership goes up. So the more people who have been liking this live stream as we're live, we're now up to 76, the more the audience has gone up. That's, for whatever reason, that's how YouTube does it. So if more, we got 140 people liking, 70 something have liked. If more people like, viewership goes up. But I just think it's preposterous. And honestly, the reason I'm talking about it again for the second day in a row is because I think it's going to get a lot worse, actually. I think it's going to get a lot worse. I think that the media and the Democratic Party, led by Chuck and Nancy, are going to try to make Russia, it's a lot easier. It's not so different from what Trump did, just in a less racist way. So Trump, in order to reach his political objective, found a way to blame the other, right? So Trump found a way to blame the other. He found a way to make people in economic pain in the Midwest and other parts of the country. Yes, a lot of them were racist too, but a lot of them weren't racist, and it was really an economic place they were coming from, where they got conned and fooled by this fake populist. But he was very, very good at getting them to look to the other, whether it be the Mexicans, whether it be the Muslims, right? Or the media, or the deep state. And there is a deep state, by the way. So now, the Democratic Party, and I put the media in with the Democratic Party, because they basically are the same thing. I mean, Jake Tapper is basically BFF with the Democrats. So is Anderson Cooper. Yes, Kelly, $5 in the super chat. Let's get Jordan to the month-end goal. Hey, Kelly, it's the year-end goal. We're about to hit the year-end goal. Go fund me. Go fund me. We're trying to hit 30,000 by the end of the year. Keep it coming, baby. Keep it coming. And by the way, just so you know, Mama Chariton's not happy with me. Mama Chariton is not happy with me. I called my mother the other day. I'm gonna show you how that conversation went. Hey, Mom, how you doing? Good. I got some bad news for you. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make the Hanukkah party on Sunday. What? Yeah, I forgot when you told me that the Hanukkah party was on Sunday. I'm doing those live stream marathons. It's our main way of fundraising during the week, and it's on Sunday. Well, can you do it Saturday? No, I can't do it Saturday. It's got to be Sunday. Well, can you do it at the party? I don't know, Mom. I don't really think people want me to go live from my family's Hanukkah party on Long Island. Well, Jordan, this is very important. Your sister-in-law's, pregnant, and we don't see each other all that often. And said, I know, Mom, but, this is a startup media company, and we're making money. We just made over $1,000. I went live for 8 hours, so I don't know, what can I tell you? I mean, I could come during the week, but I don't want to miss this Sunday. We got goals. I'm trying to hit 30,000. I'm trying to hit 30,000 by the end of the year. All right. Well, don't call me anymore saying it's bad news. You get me scared. All right. No. I'm not dating anyone. Yep. I'm taking my pills. Yep. All right, I gotta go. Bye-bye. That's how it went. So I'm skipping my family Hanukkah party because we gotta make money. And I actually looked online today to see if there's such a thing as a Hanukkah Harry costume that I could wear. Because Jen was like, wear a Santa costume. I'm not wearing a Santa costume. I'm a Jew. Got a Jew wears a Santa costume. And I know, I saw it. A lot of people say Hanukkah's over. My family does things a little later. Notary, you can't with moms. You call, she's worried. You don't call, she's worried. DSO, I might do a GoFundMe to get Jordan live broadcast in his mother's living room. Hey, Jen has met my mother. My mother is a delightful woman. And let me tell you something. The reason that I am who I am, good, bad, or otherwise, is Lori Chariton. She's the best woman I know. So, I forgot where I left off. But, it's getting to a point now where I keep CNN and MSNBC on during the day because I tend to think, know your enemy. I don't mean my enemy let's go after them physically or be violent. I just mean I want to know what nonsense they're spewing. I want to know what nonsense they're spewing. Yes, I am a veteran of the war on Christmas. You know what? I got to tell you something. I don't like American consumer culture. You see all these gigantic Christmas trees and little menorahs next to you. There's a lot of Jewish people in this country. How about a bigger menorah? Huh? Anyway, but I can't even watch MSNBC or CNN anymore. It's like this McCarthyite Cold War reenactment. It's honestly scaring me to watch it. Kameshwari Kate, thank you, $5 in the super chat. Hanukkah is past and it is a minor holiday. Hey, I don't agree with that. I mean, oh my God, who just said it? Somebody just said it. Yes, .r. Wouldn't be surprised. Look at the idiotic reports on Dr. Stein's visiting Russia. Yeah, Jill Stein sits at the same table with Vladimir Putin, and now she's an agent of Russia. By the way, they keep saying RT America is propaganda. RT America does more reporting on the Flint water crisis than America does. I've seen some of the best segments on the Flint water crisis on RT America than anywhere else. So I got news for you folks. Buckle up. Because as my poll shows, my unscientific Twitter poll, which now we have, oh, look at that. Now anti-Hillary, now social media posts, which they're saying affected or targeted or swayed Bernie Sanders supporters and black voters. Since I've been live, it's fallen to the last place. Now Tim Kaine has taken third place. We got almost 1,600 votes. You got Hillary's record winning at 57%. DNC rigged the 2016 primary at 38%. Tim Kaine being chosen as vice president at 3%. And right at the bottom, just what CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and all of them are hysterical about at 2%. And that 2%, I'm pretty convinced part of that is Neera Tanden voted. I think Neera Tanden is voting, personally. So, buckle up. I'm here to present the facts to you. I'm here to present the common sense to you. And I've said from the beginning, just because I'm pointing out that this is propaganda doesn't mean I don't think there should be an investigation into Donald Trump. I do think there should be an investigation into Trump. He's obviously corrupt. He's obviously a criminal. I think he's done money laundering with Russia for years. If you live in New York and you know about Donald Trump's business, he's done business with Russian oligarchs since the 1980s. He's also done business with Saudi Arabian oligarchs, Israeli oligarchs. I think it's clear that Donald Trump, during the campaign, was trying to build the Trump Tower in Moscow. Because of that, he was publicly kissing President Vladimir Putin's behind. That's clear. It's unethical. He shouldn't have been proposing good policies for Russia while trying to negotiate with Russia. I think that's unethical. I don't think it's a crime, but that's unethical. I've said if Mueller actually has some evidence or proof that the Trump campaign knowingly worked with the Russian government or Russian government officials to distribute stolen emails, I would think that's a massive, massive scandal. The problem is this investigation's been going on now for a year and a half, 2 years. If he has that evidence, you would think it would be out by now. And that was the original collusion charge, as you remember. The original definition of collusion, the Hillary Clinton campaign was putting this out, that Trump's campaign worked with the Russian government to take emails that were hacked and distribute them through WikiLeaks in the last month of the campaign. So I'm all for an investigation. I think the coverage of this investigation is absurd. I think there are way more important things going on in this country, and real attacks on democracy, real attacks on progressives, real attacks on African Americans, real attacks on poor people, a lot of them from Trump, by the way, that don't get coverage. So, we will keep you up to date. We will keep you up to date as the Kremlin turns. Now, Golden Boy, Obama 2.0, I call him. There is now a draft Beto. There is now a draft Beto movement to try and get Beto to run for the White House. A group of Democratic activists on Tuesday launched a campaign to draft Congressman Beto O'Rourke into running for president in 2020. The Draft Beto campaign will focus on raising $1 million to, quote, both convince him to run and give him a head start in the primary. $1 million is nothing. $1 million is nothing for a presidential campaign. Better add a couple zeros there. O'Rourke is considered a potential 2020 presidential candidate after his energetic but unsuccessful bid to unseat Senator Ted Cruz in the November elections. O'Rourke told the Dallas Morning News this week that he hasn't even really begun the serious work of making a decision. A CNN poll of likely Iowa caucus goers released Saturday showed O'Rourke trailing only Vice President Biden and Bernie Sanders among potential Democratic candidates. The Draft Beto Group is the second organization to be formed since O'Rourke's Senate's campaign following Draft Beto 2020, which is mostly focused on New Hampshire. Oh my God. You know what really bothers me the most? You know what really bothers me the most? I don't think any of these people. I don't think any of these people actually do any research. I really don't. I don't think any of these people do any research on politicians like Beto O'Rourke take money from. I don't think they do any research on what is their voting record, because it wouldn't take you long. It really wouldn't take you long to have some questions about Beto O'Rourke. I mean, just this week, asked if he's a progressive, Beto says, I don't know, not big on labels. Well, Mitt Romney said corporations are people too. Thank you, Hank. $5. Propaganda 101. If the people start to sniff out our propaganda, tell them they're being propagandized. Agree, and is this happening now here in the U.S.? You bet your ass it's happening in the U.S. What do you think this Russiagate nonsense is? So, Beto O'Rourke, there's a reason he won't answer if he's a progressive. It's because he knows where his bread is buttered, and it's not in the progressive movement, it's with the donors. Because he's not a progressive. He was part of the New Democratic Coalition in Congress. The New Democratic Coalition is a bunch of Clintonian centrists, frankly, right-wingers. DSO, the white Obama, Beto. Yep. You got it. You got it. I mean, was Obama worse than Trump? No. I mean, of course he wasn't worse than Trump, but I don't think we need another Obama. Obama ran a amazing, charismatic, otherworldly, once in a lifetime kind of campaign. A lot of us got hoodwinked. I got hoodwinked. I personally was an Obama guy in 2008. But I didn't know that he was taking all of his money from Wall Street at the same time. I didn't know that Citigroup was literally emailing his campaign, dictating to him who he has to make his cabinet. Obama's cabinet, literally, he just took an email from Citigroup and made the people that they told him to his cabinet. G. Gibson, I got burned by Obama. Never again. Notary S. I voted Hillary over Obama when she ran on universal health care. Baby Gerald. Gerald. Beto is a pale remake of Obama. So, with Hillary Clinton, her voting record was years ago. With Beto O'Rourke, this stuff from this year. Beto O'Rourke is one of the 78 Democrats who just voted to weaken a key Wall Street regulation. This is from April of this year. Today, the House voted to approve the Volcker Rule Regulation Harmonization Act, an innocuous name for a not-so-innocuous bill. The bill would weaken the Volcker Rule, which prohibits banks from making speculative investments with regular people's money, by exempting banks with less than $10 billion in assets. And for reasons beyond imagination, 78 Democrats voted for it. In January, 11 Senate Democrats joined Republicans to co-sponsor a bill to raise the threshold for extra regulatory scrutiny for banks from $50 billion to $250 billion. Oh, God, that is terrible. Which would have left fewer than 10 banks in the U.S. subject to such scrutiny. That bill included provisions similar to today's bill, exempting banks with under $10 billion in assets from the Volcker Rule. The bill would also turn over sole regulatory authority on the Volcker Rule to the Federal Reserve instead of the FDIC, the agency that backs consumer deposits in banks, which would make it easier for the Trump administration to weaken the rule. Paul Volcker, the law's namesake, criticized the provision in the Senate bill exempting smaller banks, saying, plausibly, small loopholes can be gamed and exploited with unfortunate consequences. The chair of the FDIC also told the Wall Street Journal that exempting smaller banks would, quote, open the door to risky behavior. And by the way, their definition of smaller banks, 50 million is not small. 50 billion, excuse me. According to the paper, The chair said supervisors typically catch risky trades after they go south, not before. This is why you have the Volcker rule in the first place. Makes sense. Lobbying disclosures show that banks like Citigroup and Bank of America, along with their representatives at the American Banker Association, have been lobbying the House and Senate on the Volcker rule in the last year. Here's the long list of Democrats that voted for it, including one, Beto O'Rourke. Let's find Beto. Here he is. Now, why would Beto vote for something? Why would Beto vote for something that has less scrutiny, puts less scrutiny on banks? Could it be that he takes money from banks? Well, let's take a look. I'm typing in real time. Let's take a look. How much money has Mr. O'Rourke taken from Wall Street? This is OpenSecrets.com. It's my Bible. You should make it yours. If you want to know what your politician is doing or who he's taking money from, this is it, folks. Look at that. Over $1 million from Wall Street. Over $1 million from Wall Street in 7 years. Right there. It's a lot of money for a congressman to take in 7 years from Wall Street. And he's taken over $3.3 million from lawyers and law firms. This category is interesting because a lot of these lawyers and law firms they are financial lawyers that represent the banks. So that's added money from Wall Street that's not categorized as Wall Street, but actually is. Hillary Clinton had a huge amount of money from these types of lawyers. Financial lawyers for big, big banks. So this isn't like, it's become this thing where Neera Tanden and the neoliberals, they make it seem like, oh, these Bernie bros, they're just attacking these poor people like Beto. They're just attacking them. Well, no. The truth is, people like Beto are attacking you because they're pretending to be something they're not. Here's an idea. Actually be honest about who you are. If Beto O'Rourke came out and said, you know what? I think that, yes, we should monitor Wall Street, have some rules, but we can't shackle Wall Street. And yes, I accept money from Wall Street. That he could run on that and let the chips fall where they fall. At least you're getting some truth in advertising. Unless you're not getting, I have a public position and a private position like Hillary Clinton. And let the chips fall where they fall. But, it's people like Beto O'Rourke who run as like the second coming of Obama and the second coming of Jesus. And they talk the talk about we need tighter regulations on Wall Street. Well, you're voting to deregulate Wall Street. Not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, this year. He also wouldn't give his constituents a straight answer on whether he was for the TPP or against the TPP. Does this start sounding familiar? Because I always said I'm not sexist. I'll take it to Joe Biden and Beto O'Rourke as hard as I did Hillary Clinton. It has nothing to do with their gender. But the problem is, because the media helps elevate these neoliberal hacks. You put a gun to my head. Is Beto O'Rourke better than Donald Trump? Yes, he is. As far as I can tell, he doesn't have the record on war that Hillary Clinton does. So, would I vote for Beto O'Rourke over Donald Trump? Yes, I would, if I had to. He's not my preference. But I don't want to be put in that situation anymore. We can't continue as a country operating on this lesser of two evils stuff. Because you're always going to get crumbs. If you keep going by the lesser of two evils, you are always going to get crumbs. And we're always going to be in this perpetual hijacking of our democracy. We're always going to be seeing that chart on income inequality keep climbing, where the 1% get it all and we get the bottom, the crumbs. You're always going to see that productivity climbing up and wages staying flat. Because neoliberals like Beto O'Rourke, they don't have a real vision for the country. They have a vision for how to get elected and how to satisfy their donors. If they, in their mind, if I can do some things around the edges that my donors will let me, great. Hey, Mr. WDL 800, don't put any theories in the establishment's minds. Joking, Putin made the Electoral College. You might give them some fodder. Beto O'Rourke, for deregulating Wall Street, will not come out saying if he's for Medicare for all. He won't say it. I've done the research. Look him up in the TPP. Wouldn't give people in Texas that he represents an answer if he's for TPP or not. Takes a lot of money from Wall Street. Said signed a no fossil fuel money pledge, yet was doing fundraisers with fossil fuel lobbyists, which I reported on during the Senate campaign. He was doing fundraisers with fossil fuel lobbyists. He was taking money from fossil fuel executives. He might not have been taking money from corporate PACs, but he was taking money from fossil fuel executives. He was doing lobbyists with fundraisers with fossil fuel lobbyists. He's not against fracking. So, sorry, these are the facts. This is the record. You could say, well, don't, Neera Tanden could say, stop attacking Beto. Well, fuck you. You're not going to, these people are not going to make journalism into attacks. They're the political operatives. I'm not a political operative. I'm a journalist. I just call it like it is. They're all corrupt. The Democrats are corrupt and the Republicans are corrupt. Now, I don't think Beto O'Rourke is as bad as Hillary Clinton was. That's my opinion. But that doesn't mean I think Beto O'Rourke should be the Democratic nominee. That doesn't mean I think he should be president. Beto O'Rourke is not the change we need in this country. We need somebody who's going to make this a country again, not a corporation, because we don't live in the United States of America. We live in the United Corporations of America. Marshall, that's not fair. Bernie fits the definition of a lesser of two evils. I disagree with that. Jimmy Stone, Beto is just as bad as HRC in my opinion, Jordy. Hey, don't call me Jordy. My aunt calls me Jordy. It gives me a complex. I don't know if he's as bad as Hillary Clinton. I mean, Hillary Clinton has a much longer record. Hillary Clinton has a huge, huge warmongering record. I don't know if Beto does. And by the way, just so you're aware, when we at Status Quo do reports like this, when we at Status Quo do reports exposing Neera Tanden and the Center for Phony American Progress, oh boy, did the trolls come after us. Oh boy, do the trolls come after us. All of a sudden, you start seeing more comments on Twitter attacking me and, spreading false allegations that were smeared against me last year. Isn't that interesting? That when you do real reporting and you challenge fake progressives, all of a sudden you get attacked on Twitter and other places and they smear you. All of a sudden, these people come out of hiding. You know who those people are? It's called paid trolls from Correct the Record. Jordan, even if Beto is actually progressive, does he not have enough governing experience? I mean, he was a congressman for like 6 or 7 years. I don't know if that's enough. Jimmy Stone, you bounce back though, Jordy. Hey, Jimmy, if you like what you see, go fund me. Just saying. I didn't bounce back. We bounced back. This isn't just me, baby. This is Jen. This is Ty. This is a collective. Status Quo is not just me. So Jen has helped me greatly to bounce back, and so have you guys. Kelly says he's an Obama. G. Gibson, I spelled David Brock. Hey, G. Gibson, guess what? David Brock has gone after me. So has Correct the Record on the Twitter. On the Twitter. Henry Kujawa. Jordan, I think as of this week, you passed Jimmy Dore with me. I love your work. Hey, Henry, there's no competition here. We could like Jimmy and me. I consider Jimmy a friend. I love Jimmy, so no competition for me. You don't have to like one. You could like him more than me. I don't care. Jimmy's great. But thank you for the kind comment. And Comrade, $2 for the swear jar. Yes, we do have a swear jar, so I lose monetization every video because I refuse not to curse. So keep it coming. And lastly, and remember your checklist. Ooh, we got 110 likes now. More people that like, the more people that watch. And I hope you'll consider, go to statuscoup.com. Look at our membership options. Follow us at statuscoup. Subscribe to our podcast. And go to the Evil Empire Facebook. Like our Facebook page. So, I keep on saying these people who keep putting out this nonsense about Russia and Russia hacking black people's minds and Russia hacking Bernie Sanders voters' minds, they don't have any data to prove any of this. Well, here's some data. The Green New Deal is like one of the most popular things in all of America. And you got to give credit to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She has really, really pushed this into the mainstream. Green New Deal has overwhelming bipartisan support, a poll finds, at least for now. 64% of Republicans, including 57% of conservative Republicans, back the core tenets of the sweeping proposal. The Green New Deal is the most popular policy hardly anyone has heard of yet. 82% of Americans say they have heard nothing at all about the sweeping proposal to generate 100% of the nation's electricity from clean sources within the next 10 years, upgrade the United States power grid, invest in energy efficiency and renewable technology, and provide training for jobs in the new green economy. But when asked, how much do you support or oppose the aforementioned suite of policies, 81% of registered voters say they either somewhat support or strongly support the plan, according to new survey results shared exclusively with HuffPost from the Yale Program on Climate Change Communication and George Mason University. 92% of Democrats supported the idea, including 93% of liberal Democrats and 90% of moderate to conservative Democrats. But 64% of Republicans, including 75% of moderate to liberal Republicans and 57% of conservative Republicans, also backed the policy goals outlined in the Green New Deal. 88% of independents endorsed the policies as well. Given that most Americans have strong support for the components and ideas of the Green New Deal, it has become a communication strategy problem. Abel Gustafson, a postdoctoral associate at Yale who co-authored a report on the findings, said by Phone Sunday, "From here, it's about how can you pitch it so you can maintain that bipartisan support the rest of the process." The survey's description of the Green New Deal's tenets did not mention that more than 40 progressive members of Congress are championing the policy. That group includes Representative-elect Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congressman John Lewis, and Senator Jeff Merkley. What's so interesting about this, do you ever notice in America that the things that are most popular are the things that are called the most radical? Do you ever notice in America, and by the way, good point in the super chat. I can't forget Jill Stein. I mean, the Green New Deal was Jill Stein's baby, not Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So thanks for straightening me out. So, 90% of Americans want extended background checks, universal background checks. Not happening. 70% of Americans want Medicare for all, including 52% of Republicans. Apparently not happening. 80-something percent. What was it? 80%, I think, want a Green New Deal. Sure, they don't know exactly what it is, but when you list the actual things that are part of that Green New Deal, it's wildly popular. But you never hear about these things on corporate media. You think CNN doesn't do any segments on Medicare for all. They barely talk about the Green New Deal. Neither does the New York Times. So usually in democracies, you go with the will of the people. So the will of the people is enacted through voting, voting for public officials, through things like ballot measures, state and local voting on policies, and the will of the people is enacted. Well, here you have 97% want gun control. Thank you, Antonio Danzi. People are power says that's the thing. Most Americans want the same progressive policies no matter which party they normally vote for. Yes, I agree. All you got to majority of people, progressive, conservative, right wing, left wing, they all want similar things. You just have to learn to speak to certain people in a certain way. When progressives speak to conservative people in language they understand, I don't mean they're stupid. I mean in more economic terms, they care and they agree with most of it. Let me tell you something. Republicans and conservatives were way, way negatively against the bailouts of Wall Street. Kelly, it's revolution time. We forced the change. I agree. I said on Sunday, I think we need a general strike in America. I don't endorse violence at all, but I think we need a general strike, economic boycott. I really do think we're at that point. You got cities across America contaminated. Their water is contaminated. You have black men being executed by white police officers. You have state legislatures literally rolling back minimum wage increases that were voted on. You have state legislatures, Republicans right now in Michigan and Wisconsin, literally rolling back the powers of the governor and the attorney general that were just elected, all because they lost. You have unelected emergency managers in places like Flint poisoning the water. Unelected officials basically overruling democratically elected mayors and city councils. Jimmy Stone, shout out to Jordan for being the only white dude showing us love when we get shot by cops. I don't know if I'm the only white dude, but to me this isn't about white, black, it's about human. If you don't care as a white person that black people are being murdered and executed and assassinated by the police, then frankly, I think you need to look in the mirror. Because human rights have no color, in my view. Obviously, we don't live in a country based on equality. We never have. And the original sin of this country was racism. The original sin of this country was slavery. And frankly, we might not live in a literal segregated country, but the way black people are treated and assassinated, I mean, you have black men literally being executed in cities across America. That's unacceptable. It's inhumane, and it needs to stop. And these white officers need to go to jail, and I'm going to keep covering it until that happens. It's not only the attacks on them by guns. I mean, there's economic oppression against black people all over this country, and brown people, and frankly, poor people. Economic oppression against poor white people. Whew, this live chat's moving faster than usual. I guess that means we have more viewers trying to keep up with the comments. So I think this is a great step. I think that these progressives, I really would like to hear a lot less. I want to hear a lot more from progressives about the Green New Deal, about Medicare for all, about shaming the Democratic Party that, let's tweak Obamacare. No. Get to their offices and let's start protesting. Get to their offices and let's start demanding that they stop taking money from pharmaceutical companies. Get to these offices. I'm talking Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, all of them. The time for diplomacy ended 10 to 20 years ago. It's time to get in their faces. Not be violent, no violence. We need Medicare for all. We need a Green New Deal, and we need these things yesterday. And it's the time for talking nice and negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and negotiating with Chuck Schumer. Because I got news for you. You're not going to beat Donald Trump with a nicer sounding, a lighter version of a Republican. You're not going to beat Donald Trump that way. And the only way I mean, the goal is to get rid of extreme conservatism, right? That's the goal. That's what progressives actually want. We want to defeat Donald Trump. We want to defeat the Paul Ryans of the world. We want to defeat the Mitch McConnells of the world. We want to defeat these Tea Party lunatics. We want to get rid of the trickle down economics. We want to get rid of the racist economic policies by Republicans. But you cannot get rid of those things with milder racist policies. You can't get rid of those things with milder trickle down economics. You can't get rid of those things with equally bought off politicians that are just less racist. No. A competent opposition party could defeat someone like Donald Trump in their sleep. A competent opposition party that's actually progressive could defeat the Paul Ryans of the world, the Mitch McConnells of the world, the Kellyanne Conways of the world. They're frauds. They're corrupt. They're clearly in bed with Wall Street. They're clearly giving money to their donors. Donald Trump's entire administration is straight out of Wall Street. But because we don't actually have a progressive opposition party in this country, we have a nicer sounding Republican Party masquerading as progressives. Trump did have less votes. This country is ridiculous, and we have a system that's not based on popular vote, but on the Electoral College, which is ridiculous in my view. That's another thing we need to get rid of. But Jordan, the Democrats' corruption is classy. Yeah, they're corrupt. See, I always say, and I said this on Sunday, and I'll say it again, the most dangerous politician is not the Donald Trumps of the world. The most dangerous politician is not the one that sounds awful. The most dangerous politician is not the one that you could tell is corrupt, that you could tell is racist, that you could tell is Islamophobic, that you could tell is in bed with all the special interests, that you could tell isn't out for you. The most dangerous politician is the one that you can't tell, that seems to be on your side, that comes off like they're for the working man or woman, that seems like they're populist. Smooth talker, slick Willie, phony baloney. Obama, Kelly says. He's one of them. Boo fire. Pence is so much worse than Donald Trump. I agree with that, and I've said it over and over. So, folks, that's the show for today. I hope to have an announcement on a special guest that we're going to have this Sunday. Remember, Sunday Fun Day. We're going to be live this coming Sunday at noon Eastern for a marathon live stream. I went live for 8 hours. I broke my own record. I went live for 8 hours last Sunday. I could assure you this Sunday, I am not going live for 8 hours. If I keep going live 8 hours every Sunday, I will burn to the ground. I was so tired after that. Should have asked Jen. I sounded like a ghost. Jen was tired too. But I will be live, noon Eastern, and I'll be live tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern. Remember, we are building this company from the ground up, and we need you to do it. If you're tapped out, if you've already donated, if you can't do it again, we got it. That's okay. Spread it. Share the GoFundMe link. Tell people to support real independent media. Real independent media. Not independent media that, says we're progressive and says we're independent but isn't. $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever you could do. Makes a big, big difference. We're trying to get to 30,000. We're trying to get to 30,000 by the end of this year. We're not so far off. Only 20, I can't do math, but only 2,400, I think, to go. I think we could do it. We're also trying to grow our paid membership, so go to Status Quo, check it out. And remember, as always, most people aren't lacking compassion. Most people have no idea what's going on. Peace out.